Welcome everybody to Somewhere in Vegas. We wind here on Spreaker.com. I'm Mark the Q. I'm your host. We are going back almost nearly a decade into our archives, talking to Eric Bloom of Blue Oyster Cult. We talk extensively about his love of artwork, especially on bass guitars. We also talk about his music, also that infamous SNL sketch and some things you may not know. So here we go, Eric Bloom from Blue Oyster Cult from about, 12 years ago here on Somewhere in Vegas.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Eric.
Yes, it's me.
Hi, Eric. How's everything going with you?
Excellent.
Excellent. Can you tell me a little bit about the origins of the band, Blue Oyster Cult?
The origins?
Yeah.
Well, how old are you?
I'm 32, so I know it probably was a little bit before my time.
Yeah, a little bit. Let's see. How much time do we have? I mean, it's been 40 years, so, it's been, it's hard to answer in just a sentence or two. But the band started on Long Island, around Stony Brook University, which is one of the state universities in New York. And a guy who had been to the college and had actually been the school president and had gone on to graduate school came back. His name was Sandy Perlman. He came back, heard some guys jamming. And some of the guys jamming he thought were great. And he says, I have an idea to put a band together. And he was the editor of Crawdaddy magazine, which is one of the earliest rock magazines in America, in the sort of mid-'60s. And he had connections and created what he called then Soft White Underbelly, which is the earliest version of BOC. And some people came and some people went, some people stayed, and then I joined, I joined in April of '69, and Joe Bouchard joined a few months after that, and he was the last guy to join, and by 1970, the band was intact, and then in '71, we did a demo that got us signed, and Clive Davis, who is now, of course, the main record executive on American Idol, he signed us, and we did an audition for him. And that's a whole other anecdote, that audition for Clive. But then we were signed and put out our first record in '72.
And a lot of your songs deal with like monster movies, horror movies, and the mysticism. Can you tell me a little bit about how that fuels you creatively as an artist?
Well, you're right about what what you like. I mean, some guys write love songs, and we sort of had our own left-handed take on that kind of thing. We're just into comic books and sci-fi and fantasy and literature and monster movies and sci-fi movies, and it seems to have filled up a lot of our lyric content.
And can you tell me a little bit about how you guys got that name, Blue Oyster Cult?
It came from Sandy Perlman's brain. He wrote a series of lyrics which showed up on a few of our records, but one of the lyrics was called Blue Oyster Cult, and we needed a name for that Clive Davis audition. So we had actually applied to Columbia Records at that time under a different name about 9 months before, and didn't want them to know we were the same guys, so we had to change our name.
And you guys worked earlier in your band career with Patti Smith.
Patti Smith was trying to get a record deal on her own at the same time that we were, and going to see Patti in those days was awesome. I mean, she was just doing just readings, and wasn't really performing. She was doing poetry readings and things like that. And then she started doing gigs with Lenny Kaye, who's still in her band, just playing guitar while she wrote, sang songs, and that was their whole act. And she was trying to get signed, and we were trying to get signed, and there was some talk at the time, before we got our deal, that we were going to back her up, and that fell through because we got our own deal first. But Patti then she started dating our keyboard player, Alan Lanier, and they lived together for about the next 8 years. And during the course of that time, got some lyrics from her to write some songs.
And how's she doing today?
Patty, geez, she's
Yeah.
doing fabulous. She's on
Excellent.
tour with Dylan a couple of years ago. I mean, she's, the queen of, rock punk poetesses, I guess. I can't lay anything on her that hasn't already been done. I think she's already in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, how did you get into music in the first place? Well, I mean, how young were you when you started learning guitar and started learning to sing?
Gosh, I bought my first guitar senior year of high school, and then sort of gave it up, and then was in a band in my junior year of college, just as a front man, and didn't really play, and then played all through my last couple of years of college as a local band in upstate New York, and then didn't know if I'd ever really play again, and then got in with these guys, and then started playing again.
Definitely, you designed these great guitars. Can you tell us a little bit about these guitars?
www.ericbloomguitars.com. It's kind of unique. It's a custom-made guitar, but the main hook of it is each guitar is painted with a sort of idea in mind of a Blue Oyster Cult song, like there's a Cities on Flame guitar and a Reaper guitar, things like that. And they're custom airbrushed. They take at least a month to paint. And they're expensive, but the main reason is they're custom made, custom put together, and hand painted. And I do what's called special delivery for people that are interested. Because they actually play very well, but they're also collectible because there's very, very few of them. Each guitar I hand deliver at a Blue Oyster Cult show to the person who's buying it.
Wow.
And, I play it like, for instance, if it's a Cities on Flame guitar, as an example, I'll play it on Cities on Flame that night that they're taking delivery. And then after the show, they can take any pictures they want of me playing it, and then meet them backstage with their friends, sign it anywhere on the guitar they want, and they take delivery. So it's kind of a unique thing. It's like a little hobby for me, and it's fun. And the guitars play very well.
Do you do like a double neck guitar, like with an ebony fingerboard?
Don't
do something like that?
No.
Oh, I was just asking because I'm working with Dean right now for an endorsement, and that's what I want is a double neck for myself.
Well, Dean will make you anything. He's a good friend of mine.
Really?
Yeah, he's out of Florida too.
Oh, that's probably why that they chose. Oh, that is so cool. Okay.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've seen Dean every year at the trade show. I've known him over 25 years.
Oh, cool. Oh, this is like new for me for endorsements because nobody ever cared. So.
Well, if they think it's worthwhile, they'll make it for you.
Oh, cool. Okay. I'm just asking because I had no idea about that. Okay, very cool. Yay.
We have a question from the chat room. Can you tell me just a little bit about the motivation behind Don't Fear the Reaper?
I didn't write it.
You didn't write it?
Nope. Buck wrote it.
Wrote it?
But Buck, I've heard him explain it, several times. He was having some health trouble back in the mid-'70s and wrote that song, with the thought of, what comes after we leave this place. And it's been written that some people think it's a suicide song, but it's not. It's just about love after in the next life.
And whose idea was it to put the cowbell in the song? Was it yours?
Whose idea was it? I think it was the producer's idea.
It was the producer's idea.
Yeah, at the time, yeah. But of course, that skit, is not factual. There's a lot of factual things wrong with that skit. But it's certainly very funny.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, when that skit came out, what did you think about it? I mean, do you think that it was absolutely hilarious? And
oh yeah, we loved
it.
I saw it live. I didn't know they were going to do it, and I was watching it all that night. And obviously, I thought they were, going to ream us out, but they did a good job. It was funny and it was respectful. And of course, the producer of the Reaper was not Bruce Dickinson in real life, although there is a guy named Bruce Dickinson in real life.
Right.
The real Bruce Dickinson produced the reissues, that come out, 20 years later. and I guess because they must have gotten a copy of one of the reissues and took his name off of that. So it's factually incorrect, but it was funny, and the character that looks like Buck they call Eric, so they got a few things wrong, but it was very funny. Obviously it's got legs. I mean, it's about 5 years later, and it's actually turned into part of the English language. I was reading a car magazine that said, "Oh, this new car needs more cowbell."
Yeah. And do you find people in your audience bring cowbells and play during the?
Not lately, but it has happened. Certainly within a year or two afterwards, there were plenty of people bringing cowbells and playing them quite poorly during the song.
And then usually they have a stagehand come out and play the cowbell during that song, right?
He actually plays it backstage.
Backstage.
Yeah. It's behind the amps. There's a guy playing cowbell on a mic.
And you're going to be here in Vegas March 22nd at the Boulder Station.
That's correct. One of our favorite gigs.
Yeah, I figured you probably play Vegas a lot. And I mean, I guess one final question for you, Eric. What was it like? What's it like being here and playing for the Blue Oyster Cult for 40 years?
What's it like playing in BOC for 40 years?
Yeah.
You want that answer in one sentence?
I guess he wants the Reader's Digest version, Eric.
I'll tell you what the answer is. It's the best job I ever had.
Is there any secrets to you guys' longevity? Do you guys just have
No, we just, I think people see us play, and, even people who just know the hits, the 3 hits, they're always surprised that there's, a depth of material that they're not familiar with, and that, how well the band still plays and sounds, and, singing's great, the, musicianship is great, and a lot of jamming going on in BOC too, which a lot of people just think, we just play the hits. Also, one thing that, I read all the fan boards and things like that, and one of our strengths is the fact that we play a different show every night. A lot of bands go out there and play the same show and say the same thing after each song, and year after year after year. And, all our shows are different. Every single show is different.
Okay, anything else from me, Kat?
I just want to know if you remember the book The Stand by Stephen King, they make a reference to your song, Don't Fear the Reaper.
Yes, and also Reaper was used in the movie as well.
Yeah, so what did you guys think about that? Like, how cool was that?
Well, it was very cool for Stephen King to quote the lyric, in the beginning of the book, and then also to use the music at the beginning of the movie. So, we've been in contact with him over the years. We're all fans of his. Buck is much more of a horror fan than I am, and I'm much more of a sci-fi fantasy fan than he is. But combined, we have those genres covered.
Okay, because I'm a big Stephen King fan, and when I was reading The Stand, which is like War and Peace, the equivalent of like the heavy metal, I was like, oh my God, they're like, Stephen King is like doing the Blue Oyster Cult thing in here. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And then,
he's
of course, when they came out the movie, I'm sorry?
He's a rocker, he's got his own band.
Oh, yeah, he's like the AC/DC and et cetera, when he did the, what was it, Maximum Overdrive, I believe it was the movie as well. And I was like, this is too cool. And then, of course, when you're on tonight, I was like, I got to ask him that question. And then he comes on.
Yeah, well, a lot of our lyrics come from literature or authors of books have lent us lyrics. Like I've written some songs with Michael Moorcock, who wrote the Elric books. A lot of fantasy fans are familiar with those books, the Eternal Champion series. And, and Michael, owed a lot to Tolkien. So, Lord of the Rings, I read those books.
Right. But this is an author going the opposite. Usually...
Right, he's
like,
quoting us.
He's quoting the opposite. It's just the author going from 2 bands. And I thought that was pretty cool. So
it is. It's very unique, and I thought it was terrific when it happened.
Yeah, so... I think y'all are great, man, and especially you come from in my home area. So, yeah. So.
We won't take any more of your time up, Eric, but it was great having you on the show. Love to have